Imagine for a moment a world where dinosaurs never went extinct, a world where the mighty Tyrannosaurus rex still roams the forests, where massive sauropods like Brachiosaurus graze in the open plains, and where the skies are filled with the shadows of prehistoric flying reptiles such as pteranodons and Quetzalcoatlus. A world where the planet we inhabit is shared with these ancient creatures. What would such a world look like? How would it change everything we know about life, survival, and our place in the universe? The first thing that would strike you is the sheer scale of the planet's ecosystems. Earth's landscape would be radically different. In this world, the presence of such massive creatures would require entire ecosystems to adapt. Huge forests and vast plains would likely dominate much of the land, providing the space these creatures need to thrive. Imagine towering trees with trunks so thick they could withstand the weight of an Apathaurus or a Diplotaurus. Grasslands would stretch endlessly, giving way to great herds of herbivorous giants grazing together. The environment would have to evolve to support their massive size, and the very structure of the planet's natural world would look vastly different from anything we recognize today. But it's not just the physical environment that would be transformed. Our relationship with nature and the planet itself would fundamentally change. Humanity would face a constant challenge in coexisting with creatures far larger, faster, and potentially more dangerous than any animals we know today. If dinosaurs were still alive, humans would have to learn how to live alongside these ancient beasts, some of which could dwarf even the largest elephants and bears. The safety of human settlements would become a top priority. Entire cities might be designed with fortified walls, not just for defense against natural disasters or human conflict, but to protect against the very real threats posed by these giant predators. Imagine walking through a city where the threat of a Tyrannosaurus rex emerging from the forest is a genuine concern. Travel across the country could be heavily restricted, with roads and highways carefully monitored for signs of dinosaur activity. Perhaps some regions would be designated as dinosaur-free zones, heavily patrolled to prevent the encroachment of these prehistoric giants. A new kind of travel infrastructure would have to be created, one that accounts for the need to protect both people and livestock from these massive creatures. Would we live in constant fear, always watching over our shoulders for the next attack? In the wild, the presence of dinosaurs would fundamentally alter the way we understand nature and ecosystems. Take the case of herbivorous dinosaurs like the long-necked Apatosaurus. These animals would need to consume vast amounts of vegetation to survive. In a world where they still roam, forests and fields would likely be stripped of much of their plant life, especially in areas with large populations of herbivores. This would force entire ecosystems to adapt. The plants that survived would have to evolve to become tougher, more resilient, and capable of regrowing quickly after being eaten. Perhaps entire new types of flora would develop, with thorns, toxins, specifically designed to thwart these giant creatures from grazing them into extinction. On the other hand, carnivorous dinosaurs like the terrifying Tyrannosaurus rex would introduce a new layer to the food chain, but a food chain where humans might find themselves somewhere near the bottom, or at least in the middle. These apex predators would demand a new understanding of survival. Humans would need to rethink how we protect ourselves, our livestock, and our crops. How would we defend our farms from giant, hungry predators that could destroy crops in seconds or threaten livestock with ease? Would farming as we know it even be possible in this world? Or would we have to create new ways to grow food safely, perhaps in fortified greenhouses or subterranean farms, far from the reach of predatory giants? As this new world unfolded, human society would undergo radical changes. The development of technology would no longer be just about advancing knowledge, convenience, or entertainment. It would be about survival, about developing new tools and techniques to ensure that humanity could coexist with such dangerous creatures. Buildings might be designed with reinforced materials to withstand the occasional dinosaur attack. Imagine a skyscraper with walls thick enough to withstand the impact of a T-Rex's massive jaws, or a steel-plated fence high enough to keep flying reptiles from swooping down into cities. Entire industries would shift focus to protecting human settlements from prehistoric threats. Military technology would take on a whole new importance. The defense industry would likely focus on weapons specifically designed for dealing with dinosaurs. Could we develop anti-dinosaur weaponry? What kind of technologies would we need to defend ourselves from a creature capable of crushing a car with a single swipe of its tail or delivering a fatal bite with its powerful jaws? In this world, innovation would become even more critical. The need to adapt and invent new forms of defense would be more urgent than ever before. Humanity would be forced to come together in ways we've never seen before, as our survival would depend on our ability to collaborate and create technologies to protect ourselves from these ancient predators. Abusers. Agriculture, too, would face significant challenges. If large herbivorous dinosaurs were still alive, they could easily decimate crops, especially in regions where these giants roamed freely. The delicate balance of farming would have to be completely rethought. Farmers might have to create massive barriers or protective zones to safeguard their fields, keeping their crops safe from constant grazing by giant plant eaters. In areas where these creatures were particularly abundant, farmers might be forced to develop new forms of agriculture that could withstand constant grazing pressure, such as growing crops underground or in fortified vertical farms. Entire communities of farmers would be on the front lines of this battle, constantly struggling to protect their harvests and livelihoods. Another major challenge would be the relationship between humans and dinosaurs. Could we find a way to peacefully coexist with these creatures, or would they remain dangerous and unpredictable? It's highly unlikely that we could domesticate them in the same way we've done with modern animals. These creatures were designed for survival in a very different world, and their instincts would be wild and untamed. Human survival would depend on understanding how to protect ourselves from dinosaurs while also maintaining a balance with nature. Preserving the natural world would become even more critical, as we would need to protect both our species and the dinosaurs themselves. This delicate balance might drive new forms of environmental conservation and wildlife protection, as we would have to ensure that the ecosystems that support these ancient creatures also thrive. On a cultural level, the presence of dinosaurs would reshape our art, literature, and scientific pursuits. Imagine a world where dinosaurs are part of everyday life, not just as subjects of fossil studies, but as living, breathing creatures we must contend with daily. This would influence everything from literature to films to scientific research. Entire genres of media could emerge dedicated to the interaction between humans and dinosaurs. Perhaps even a new kind of action or adventure genre focused on surviving in a dinosaur-infested world. Oh, museums and research centers dedicated to studying these creatures would become even more important, as scientists would need to continuously learn from these living relics of a distant past. New fields of study might even emerge, focusing on human-dinosaur interactions, new preservation techniques, and even the ethics of living alongside such creatures. The most profound question, however, would be about our place in the world. For millennia, humans have been at the top of the food chain, the dominant species on the planet. But in a world where dinosaurs still roam, that position would be constantly challenged. We would need to share our planet with creatures that were once the undisputed rulers of Earth. Could we adapt to this new reality? Or would the presence of these massive creatures remind us of our vulnerability in the face of nature's raw power? How would we redefine ourselves in a world where we are not the only dominant species? In the end, a world with living dinosaurs would be a world full of both wonders and dangers. Life would have to shift and adapt in ways we can't even fully imagine. Our relationship with the planet and with other species would evolve. Humanity would need to find a new place in a world that is, in many ways, still ruled by creatures of the past. We might look to our distant ancestors for lessons on survival, or we may be forced to create entirely new ways of living in this unfamiliar and potentially dangerous world. It's a fascinating thought experiment, one that reminds us just how fragile our existence is. As much as we marvel at these ancient creatures and imagine a world where they never left, perhaps it is best that they remain a part of our distant history, extinct, but forever captured in the imagination of humankind. Yet, imagining a world where they never left forces us to reconsider everything we know about survival, coexistence, and the natural world.